Hello there, Leo. Michelle B here. I've created a little reading for you with tarot cards, and I want to let you know before I get started with it that if you don't resonate with the story that I'm telling here, that I'm laying out, that's okay. You can check your moon, your rising, your Venus, or your Mars placements. Different placements on our charts can light up at different times in our lives depending on what's going on and all the astrological events that are happening currently. And you can check that on my channel, or you can check any of your signs on many other YouTube tarot reading tarot readers out there. I am just, my words are all over the place because Mercury retrograde is coming up, and that's what I'm going to blame it on. Let's go ahead and get started. I drew an affirmation card for you, Leo, and it's, I have the power to create the life that I want. This affirmation really reached out to me on your behalf, because I feel like right now you're like, I'm ready to do what I want to do. I'm ready to do things on my terms. Sometimes the readings that I have are leaning more toward relationship issues. Sometimes they're leaning more toward career and creativity and life purpose. Those are the three topics that I like to focus on: love, career, abundance, and life purpose kinds of topics. This one is reaching out way more toward the career and the creative projects and the life purpose, feeling like you have so much more to give to the world. And the way that it integrates with romantic relationships is that potentially, if you have a romantic relationship right now, it might become strained because you're like, I need to switch things up the way that I do it right now. Because first, we're going to look at what to embrace and what to leave behind, but I also feel like in your internal landscape, you're worried about letting somebody down, okay? So anyway, I'm going to go to look at what to embrace and what to leave behind. The Three of Swords is what to leave behind. If you've been through situations where you felt helpless to help people that needed your help, or you felt like you were not being supported the way that you should have been supported, and you felt let down, and you're like, I guess I really am on my own. That kind of feeling. You're the one that's feeling heartbroken because you haven't had the resources to do what you want to do, or you haven't been helped the way that you would be willing to help other people, right? But you're leaving that behind instead of sitting in the energy of self-pity. Oh, I guess nobody helps me. It's just whatever. You're not going to do that. No, you're like, I'm going to put my nose to the grindstone and I'm going to create the life that I want. I'm going to do this for myself. Something that I love about Leos is they are eager to get started, to be self-sufficient, and to not depend on anybody to get what they want. So yes, awesome. These are good prospects for you for the next couple of weeks, Leo. You're like, I'm going to show up every day and do what needs to be done to create my perfect life. The things that I always wish that someone else would provide for me, I'm finally providing those things for myself. So now I'm going to look at the internal landscape, what it is that you're, that's going on in your head, like environmental factors as well. And then I'm going to look at advice for that. So like I said, I have this 10 of Wands here, and this has to do with your responsibilities, the people that you feel responsible to. If you're not in some kind of committed relationship where there's a conflict between what you want to be doing and the responsibility to those people, if you're not in that kind of situation, it's other family members. It could be a job that depends on you to show up. But interestingly, for the advice for this card, we had kind of a mirror reflection of the Seven of Swords come up. And the way it came out was it was in reverse. It's like this. So even though it looks like there's a couple things that could be happening. Even though it looks like you're being this like self-sacrificing martyr person, in fact, you have ulterior motives. But there's also, for some of you, most of you, I feel like for most of you, you're pushing and pushing because you think people need you, when in fact, the people that you're helping are really just taking advantage of you. And if you resonate with that, you know that that's you. That you're doing, and the people that you're doing for know that you will continue showing up for them. And when you're not doing for yourself, you're just digging yourself deeper because these people are not there for you. And I do feel like there is an association between this Three of Swords and the Seven of Swords energy. It's a feeling of being betrayed. And it's not like an overt betrayal, like someone like went over and hurt you. It's a betrayal of your best interest that you have sensed in the past. And the Hierophant's here. Now, if this is a person that you're like bound under God to, could be that you're married to someone, it was backed up, look, by the Hierophant in reverse going on internally, and the advice is the Hierophant in reverse. Isn't that interesting how they both came out in the same, in the same direction? They both came out that way. So if this is someone that you're married to, it's like there's these rules of morality of how you think that you should be with them. If you're not married to them, you feel committed to them in some way. It also could have to do with parents that you're taking care of, or adult children that you've been taking care of that are not pulling their share, and you feel a moral obligation to continue to pander to them, even though they're not doing their share of the bargain. They're not pulling their weight. They're not looking out for you the way that you feel morally obligated to look out for them. So you know what to do. Whenever I have the Hierophant here coming up here in reverse, I'm reminded that there's a quote, and I don't know who said it, but I know it wasn't me. It was any law that isn't fair has to be broken. If it's a law that isn't fair to the people that are being oppressed, then it has to be broken. So any like moral rules that aren't working in your favor, you have a moral obligation to step outside of that. So you feel a moral obligation to be putting a bunch of time and effort into taking care of people that are not doing their share, then you have to turn and let them go. You have to drop those wands and move on, my dear Leo. Drop those wands and start looking out for you. Next, we've got the 8 of Swords. Whenever I have the 8 of Swords, when it comes to the internal, what's going on internally, it has to do with what you believe that you are capable of, and that might have been what got you into this mess in the first place. What got you into this being put in this position is because we do attract what we think we deserve, and you might not have thought that you deserved, even though you expected somebody you're like, it would be really nice, and I kind of expect people to take care of me. You didn't actually really think that you deserved it, and so that's what you ended up getting, right? You got what you got. And a lot of it can have to do with, like, it's not a conscious thing. Like, I think that I deserve to be treated like crap. Instead, it's a subconscious thing that was ingrained in us from our childhoods when we were ignored, emotionally abandoned, or emotionally manipulated, abused, essentially turned into domestic workers for our parents, or like emotional crutches for our parents or the influential adults that raised us. We ended up thinking that the only way that we are lovable is if we are pulling that role, and unconsciously we attract partners and friends that will do the same thing, because that's what's comfortable for us. It's not comfortable for us to be people that say, no, I'm going to do my own thing right now. I mean, if you have things that you need from me, you're going to have to find it from someone else or get it yourself. I have these other things that I need to take care of right now that are important to me. And so that's why we had the Devil come up in the position of advice for this situation, where you're bound up by unconscious beliefs about what you deserve and what you're capable of. The Devil came to give you some advice. It's like, hey, look at those thought patterns that are happening unconsciously that lead you to making the decisions that you do about your own, about how you use your time and your energy. Why is it that you feel like you are bound and tied up to people that are not looking out for you? Why do you feel like you're bound to that? Is it because you're scared? I mean, we need to look at that, right? Are we scared of being alone? Is it that we're scared of being a bad guy? What is the specific reason that we feel like it's really hard to say no to the people that are demanding things from us that really aren't fair? Or why do we feel, it may not be that they're even demanding it at all, they're just taking advantage of it. It may be that we're automatically just throwing out all of this effort to prove that we're good people, and they don't even care. They're not even paying attention. I've had that. I was raised by myself. Here's a little bit of personal information. I was raised by a narcissistic father that would tell me he needed me from a very young age. He needed me to prove to him that I was loyal. For my whole life, I had to prove that I was loyal by always being good, by never arguing with him, and by always anticipating his needs before he asked for them, before he said he needed it. I had to anticipate it ahead of time, or he would be angry for me for not knowing what he needed. And so now when I go into relationships, I have to be very mindful of how I might be projecting my father's personality on my partners. Because I unconsciously do it. I think, oh, I can't do that, or I can't do that, because that would make me seem like a bad person, like I was disloyal, like I wasn't anticipating their needs. And so that's the devil. That's the devil on your shoulder being like, you know they're gonna think you're a bad guy. You know they're never gonna love you if you act that way. You know that they're gonna be angry and they're gonna punish you if you act that way. And that might not be the case at all, that's what would happen, but that's what's in our heads. Be mindful of that, my dear Leo. Okay, and then finally we have, ending on a more positive note, what's going on. It is a lot of hopefulness for the future for you. So we're looking at our relationships and our healthy boundaries with other people. We're looking at what we believe is good or bad. We're looking at our unconscious beliefs about who we are, what we're capable of, and what we deserve. And then we're like, I am hopeful that I'm going in a positive direction. And I think the main thing is that in spite of challenges that you have with very close relationships, you do have a network of people that want to support you. And you are consciously aware of that you have people that want to support you, that you have people that love the work that you do, and they want to help you with it. Okay. And so the advice for that resource, the resource of having all these people that are, rooting for you. And I don't feel like these are really your immediate circle kind of people. I feel like they're more on the outskirts. These are people that are just acquaintances, but that they admire your work. It's saying offer a cup of your gifts to them. So the advice, the final piece of advice is to participate as much as you can in conversations in the wider circles. Don't focus as much energy on your immediate relationships, and instead spread your wings wider to bigger groups of people so that you can start changing the reality of what you want to see. I really sense that you really want to spread your wings. You want to get out there and see everything that life has to offer you. And I love that for you. I'm getting a lot of text messages right now. I'm going to have to check up on those. But on a final note, as we're finishing up, I just want to let you know that a link to my Instagram is in the description box below. Make sure and give a thumbs up to this video and leave any comments below about what you thought about whether or not the reading resonated with you. And I love you, and I'll see you next time, Leo. Keep up the good work.